What exactly do the Eds mean to you? For me, they were a beacon of defiance and independent thought. You see, their show was one that fell in with the likes of Johnny Bravo. It was a special little group of shows that were considered stupid by my mother. Why, Mommy? I mean, now I can understand the dislike for Johnny Bravo. I can see why every individual wasn't gobbling up his lecherous, womanizing antics. People are different and are of different tolerance levels. But back then, I couldn't empathize to save my life. Really, what kid can? All these years and all this growth have not, however, clued me into the reason why my dear mom disliked the Eds. So let's figure it out. And while we're at it, let's figure out the worst episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy. The Eds are not the most likable kids in the cul-de-sac. That much is abundantly clear if you ask any victim of their scams. They're money-grubbing con artists. The worst of the worst, when they're together at least. Individually, they're pretty harmless and very easy to get along with, I imagine. But Ed, Edd and Eddy as an entity is not to be trusted or trifled with. But all that said, isn't that why we love them? Don't the Eds and their scams embody everything we love about adolescence? The kids of the cul-de-sac have a good life. They wake up, mill around, make some new memories, go to bed, and do it all over again. They're children with no responsibilities, and they make the most of their seemingly endless summer vacation. It's a time of my life that I remember lightly, but fondly. I think I'd live it up for a couple days, a few weeks tops, playing video games, catching up on movies and TV shows, until all the nothing made me go crazy. Then I'd be jonesing to create something again. But as a tiny little James watching Ed, Edd and Eddy scam their way through the neighborhood, I was in wish fulfillment heaven. Each and every episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy is so full of wonder and imagination. The show wouldn't work without a little bit of suspension of disbelief. Take Who Let the Ed In, for example. Who the fuck is Jib? At first glance, of an invisible person, if it makes sense, Jib is Ed's imaginary friend. He's Ed's imaginary friend who's able to garner the love and affection of every other kid in the cul-de-sac. Oh, and I don't know, manipulate physical objects? This ain't Foster's. I don't see Craig McCracken's name on the credits. So I'm going to chalk this nice little episode up to the same decisions and creative storytelling elements that made Plank into a chaotic being, completely independent of Johnny 2x4's influence. A child watching doesn't think twice when Jib starts thrashing Eddy around, and that's what makes Ed, Edd and Eddy such a beautiful piece of television. It doesn't ask you to think deep. All it wants is a little bit of time to make you laugh at its absurdity. But even Ed, Edd and Eddy can't be all beauty. There has to be a reason moms everywhere have it out for them. For one, I think it's one of the things that made it a cartoon to begin with. Nothing changes in Peach Creek. Not until autumn when school is back in session. The Eds do not learn. The Eds crack on each day trying to lift quarters from pockets to bankroll the purchase of precious jawbreakers. The status quo doesn't change. The Eds add up to one idiot Edward who fails over and over again. And even if there is a victorious episode, that victory is typically short-lived. There really isn't ever a happy ending until Big Picture Show. And that can be a slog to get through if the style of childlike comedy isn't your jam. On the other hand, if you can laugh at their misfortunes and how incompetent the Eds are, then this show's right up your alley. But status quo can't be the only reason moms dislike this show. Status quo is every animated primetime show on television right now. So why, Mommy? No, it has to be something at the very core of our titular characters. The heart of the very show is the scam. It is the point of almost every episode. The Eds knowingly try to take from those unknowing. Some of the time their business ventures are legitimate, but a lot of other scams are exactly that. The Eds cut corners on their shoddy products or experiences and market them as premium. They charge a whole frickin' quarter. And they are unfazed by the disappointment they create. It's a pretty on-point critique of capitalism and industry if you observe in the properly critical light. Packaging unfinished and underwhelming products is something consumers have been all too accustomed to. It has always been our jobs to pick the gems from the steaming piles of crap. Then those gems rise to the top to corner and monopolize the market. Then they cut corners to start to make the crap. It's the dance we dance, and the Eds are the first step. Every business venture has to start somewhere. And to be honest, the Eds are a bad influence. Unless they're building entire cities, they have the work ethic of a second semester high schooler. I don't think that's what our moms want us to aspire to be, so they tell us the show's stupid. And then we watch it anyway because it's funny, and mom isn't always right. We have to think for ourselves and make our own decisions. But what do I know? I'm not equipped with the right stuff to actually grow a human inside of me, so my views on parenting may be a little different from moms everywhere who dislike Ed, Edd, and Eddy. But something I may be equipped to dealing with is figuring out the worst episode of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Considering the hours of my life I poured into watching it, yeah, I think so. So let's do it! This is the part where I preface everything you need to know before I share my worst episode. And what that is me telling you what the worst episode isn't gonna be. It isn't your Ed here. It isn't Sorry Wrong Ed. It isn't If It Smells Like Ed. I am not here to confirm your biases. People cite these episodes as unfair, punishment, or my favorite, mean-spirited. They say the Eds did not warrant this type of behavior. They deserve to be left alone. It's only Eddy's fault. Eddy did nothing wrong. But it's also like they've never watched a single episode of Ed, Edd, and Eddy prior. The Eds are scam artists. It's not rocket surgery to infer that the kids in the cul-de-sac aren't too keen on treating the Eds like saints on any given day considering their history. No, bandwagoners, these episodes are not bad and they are not the worst. In here I have the actual worst episode, which is Ed or Tails. It starts like any other episode, a scam leading nowhere. But this one seems to fall flat a little early, giving the Eds plenty of free time to work with. So they try to figure out how to split two jawbreakers 3 ways. These are Ed's jawbreakers, by the way, and he's happy to share them with his best friends. But the numbers do not add up. So what do? After they lose one of them and can't physically divide the last, they begin a slew of infighting because they all feel entitled to Ed's last jawbreaker. They're supposed to be bros to the end, but a jawbreaker divided them and they all lost it in the end. I can't imagine what they'd do if a woman got in between them. Not great. But don't get me wrong, I can still get a deep laugh out of Ed taking 24 hours to count to 3. But this has to be the worst episode. The Eds are stronger when united, still incompetent, but stronger. And since I love Ed and Eddy so much, I have to shout out my favorites before we're done. 3 episodes that get me every single time are 3 Squares and an Ed, Rent-a-Ed, and Will Work for Ed. I picked 3 Squares for, What Happened to the Stairs. I picked Rent-a-Ed for, Is That the Support Beam to the House? And Will Work for Ed failing at peeling potatoes. Yeah, it's all gibberish, I know. For me, hearing the bits are enough to get a good laugh, but my delivery probably isn't enough, so go watch them. So we got there, and now you know the worst episode of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. The real one. What are your personal best and worst of the Eds? Let us know down in the comments. And for more videos like this, subscribe to Stunt Club Soda, and keep coming back for those uploads.